We'll go ahead and call the work session together for February 12th, 2026. The first item on our agenda are the citizens' comments. Shanae, do we have residents who would like to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll go to the city operations update.
Thank you, Mayor. We have our last month on ICTN update. April.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. April Reiling, Director of Communications, pleased to present to you the last month on ICTN for the month of January.
Your ICTN team produced 30 videos in the month of January.
Irving is a highly coveted international business address offering world-class amenities, access to talented workforce, well-planned, resilient infrastructure, and a strong collaboration between the private sector and the government.
We are here to listen to them, to find out what their concerns are so that we can make Irving the best place for them.
There are many aspects that set us apart from one another. Yet, there is one thing we all have in common. We seek to build relationships with those around us.
For the entire Black History Month, stop by the children's area here at the South Irving Library to take part in a scavenger hunt.
He has led transformative initiatives that set statewide benchmarks in firefighter safety, professional development, and operational excellence.
Irving creates an opportunity for business growth, and we wanted to be part of that.
Everything is so fast-paced. People are coming and going off stage, rapid-fire lines, and you're just kind of like, what's gonna happen next?
Milo is a 10-month-old white shepherd mix. He is dog-friendly and he loves people.
You come in, she knows who you are, you feel the sense of community, and I just think it's a nice staple for many of years here in Irving.
As emergencies like water main breaks arose, crews like this water utilities team answered the call. Stay up to date by subscribing to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The City of Irving.
Thank you.
All right. Well, April, if you and your team want to join me, I have a proclamation. All right. Everybody's here on time. All doing all right? Good.
Can we just go down there? Okay.
We got the whole gang here, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Well, I was just mentioning this morning when we were talking about what a great job you guys all have done with talking about the grants and things that we've been able to bring forward in the city. It's really worked out well. I've seen a lot of feedback on the social media about us getting the dollars and the interest-free loans and things of that nature, and what we're doing also with the dollars in the parks and things of that nature. So, April, to you and your team doing a great job of getting that information out to the residents so that they're aware of how these dollars are coming in and how they're being spent. So we have a proclamation for Government Communicators Day. Whereas the role of communication professionals is to inform, educate, and engage their communities. And whereas robust communication in government creates trust and inspires residents to take an action and be involved in their community. And whereas government communicators create relationships and calls to action, builds awareness and understanding through storytelling, fostering engagement on civic issues, and using all channels to include people in critical decisions. And whereas it is essential to have a strong communications in government, because it is the foundational element of living in a democracy where citizens have the freedom to make their voices heard. And whereas the City of Irving is proud and has a deep gratitude and recognition for government communicators' professionalism, dedication, hard work, community enthusiasm, and sacrifice. Now therefore, I, Rick Stouffer, Mayor of the City of Irving, and the Irving City Council, do hereby proclaim February 20th, 2026 as Governmental Communications Day in Irving, Texas. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mayor. As Mayor Stouffer said, February 20th is officially Government Communicators Day, which celebrates public communicators like the ones in front of you who are busy with their heads down 364 days of the year, and we take this one day to celebrate us and what we do. Thank you for taking this time. Today, I'm proud to highlight our communications department, the team responsible for ensuring the work that you do and the service that the city provides is clearly communicated accurately and consistently. Their impact is immeasurable and extraordinary. Last year alone, this department earned 44 professional awards, and this year, and it's only February 12th, this year so far, we've already been recognized with an Outstanding Achievement Award for the city's annual report, along with our friends from finance. Together, we help ensure that our residents receive timely information, understand city initiatives, and remain engaged in their local government. Simply put, this team works magic to shine the spotlight on this organization, your leadership, as well as the essential services that this city delivers. Thank you very much for recognizing their hard work. Great job, team.
Take a photo.
I think Rachel's going to sneak up. Do you want to jump in the middle of everybody?
I'm like so tall.
Okay. No, I don't want to block. Make sure you look between the heads.
All right, 1, 2, 3. You guys look great.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. You get the rest of the day off.
If you say so.
This is your day. All right. Okay, we have an economic development group that is here. So we're going to, KO, if you would, read us into executive session so we can deal with that executive session item.
Yes, sir. The time is 1:13. The Irving City Council will convene into a closed executive session to discuss economic development negotiations pursuant to Open Meetings Act, Section 551.8087.
Back in October of 2025, we conducted a major upgrade to our catalog system. And one of the enhancements that came out of it is an ability for parents to select a new type of card for their children and teens. The limited access card offers an opportunity for parents to select whether they want their children to have access to all library materials or just those that they would deem age appropriate. On February the 20th, any families that have children's or teen cards from prior to October of last year, we're going to go ahead and expire those. How renewals work, in this particular case, the parent will have to come into the library. They're going to need to bring a photo ID, The second thing that they're going to need is the library card that they want to renew. They're going to be filling out a youth registration card form, and on the form, besides the essential information, at that time they'll make the selection of whether they want to have full access or access for just the children's collection or the teen collection. With the limited access card, I like to promote the new seed collection that can be found at all 3 of our library locations. We have a lot of seeds that people can come in and check out for free. For families who like to go beyond the book and exploring topics with their kids, we have Little Steamer backpacks, and they're on all sorts of wonderful science and technology topics. We cover dinosaurs and planets, magnetism, nutrition. Besides books, we've got DVDs, Blu-ray, we have audio CDs, we have so many options online. There is a lot of things that you can enjoy with the library without needing a card. One recent service that we've provided at all 3 locations is our AWE computers. These are in the children's areas, and they have wonderful early education games that the child can play and really kind of expand their mind in the area of getting ready to read or math concepts, colors, those types of things. Here at South Irving Library, we have a space designated for families called the Discovery Zone, and we have all sorts of activities that gets the kids ready to read. We've got a little play area for them to enjoy, and we have programs nearly every day of the week. Story times, but even during spring break, there's going to be active programs, there's going to be entertainers to go and see, and there's going to be just things that the kids can chill. They can watch movies, they can do crafts, all sorts of things.
Definitely the sounds of construction.
Yes, a lot of demo going on.
This work is making way for a brand new playground at Northwest Park. Here's an idea of what it will look like.
A whole bunch of different nets and climbing events and slides and swings. One day it can be like it's a castle, next day it's a spaceship. Where they're working right now, that's going to be where the swing sets are.
The new equipment replaces a playground that was more than 25 years old. Along with the play equipment on the way, this new outdoor workout area is already available for use. Also, more of the park will be illuminated, and existing lighting is being updated.
We've gone to a new LED lights, so the whole trail will be lit up now.
All of the improvements are on track to be complete this summer. Our next stop is the Heritage Senior Center courtyard.
It's a giant, great area, but it's just underutilized.
That's expected to change with new additions, an expanded turf area, video screens, an outdoor kitchen, and more shade.
Because it does in the summer get quite warm.
I bet. This project is also scheduled for summer completion, and then inside,
You get a whole new ballroom floor.
right now, there are gaps and breaks covered with tape. Patrons have noticed.
We have classes, exercise classes, we have dances, we have parties. Every day we're using it.
After more than 2 decades of heavy use, the floor will be replaced in the next few months. Here at West Park, work is beginning on another big project. It's based on the popularity of a recent improvement at Southwest Park. West Park will get its own futsal court.
We've always known it was something popular. We've had issues in the past where the kids would take over a tennis court. So it was just common sense to give them what they wanted, give them what they're asking for, give them a place where they can play.
The futsal court at West Park will double as a basketball court. Additionally, there will be a new half court for basketball. All of this is also expected to be open this summer. Teams are also making progress on a new section of the Campion Trail.
Which goes from River Hills Park going north, just past Fraser Dam. That's along the outfork of the Trinity River.
It's expected to open this summer. At just under 2 miles, it gets the city that much closer to the long-anticipated goal of having a complete, connected Campion Trail.
It's going to be really nice.
Thomas Gandy for City Source. It's the honor of a lifetime for Irving Fire Chief Victor Conley. He is receiving the Texas Fire Service Hall of Honor Lifetime Achievement Award.
I love being a public servant. I love serving my community. It's humbling to know that they're talking about you, you know. And then when they reached out to me and told me about it, I was like, no, there's other fire chiefs much more deserving.
Chief Conley has been a driving force in
But through his introduction at this ceremony in San Marcos, the reasons Conley was chosen were made clear. top service designations for the Irving Fire Department, a nonprofit focused on brain cancer, and more.
He has led transformative initiatives that set statewide benchmarks in firefighter safety, professional development, and operational excellence.
Irving Mayor Rick Stouffer and City Manager Chris Hillman were among those who traveled to see the ceremony.
If it wasn't for these gentlemen believing in me enough to support my ideas and having the confidence in me, I could have got none of these things done.
Our men are pretty exhausted, though, because it's been really a strenuous task.
The honor happens to come at the same time Chief Conley celebrates 40 years with the Irving Fire Department. He does not have many photos of his early days, but stories.
I really don't know where to begin with a 40-year career other than year one, so if y'all bear with me, I'm going to start. 40 years ago, I started working in Old Fire Station 4, that's at the corner of Coker and MacArthur, little bitty house. I rode on Squad 4. Stood on the tailboard while we were going down the highway 50, 60 miles an hour. I'm putting my bunker gear on, and we had rubber gloves. We call them fireballs. They were rubber gloves, and fighting fire with rubber gloves. I mean, who came up with that, right? So we've evolved a long ways.
And he is still going forward and grateful for recognition and community support.
This just blows me away. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thomas Gandy for City Source. In advance of Irving's State of the City, it is time to go motoring with the mayor.
One of the things I've always wanted to do is just kind of show the people what we're doing in the city of Irving and what we've accomplished over the last few years.
I'm all about ride-alongs, and especially with somebody who's knowledgeable, somebody who has a tremendous sense of what this city is and certainly what it's capable of.
This is Center Park. Right now we're adding a swimming facility.
An indoor facility?
Right.
And when is this expected to be done?
Sometime next year. We've got two projects here that I'm really proud of that we've done over the last few years. One of them is the youth center. We put in a whole new array of things so they can come in and do podcasts and different things. Then there's the Irving Police Athletic League. And of course, we're very fortunate to have our art center here that's got events going on all the time.
So what was just the thought process behind Levy Plaza?
We realized that with all the density here, we had to provide some green space. What we do here is the 4th of July, and we can put 10, 20, 30,000 people, and we've got the pathway that goes all the way around the lake. So we're coming up here on Mustang Park, and this is something I've been wanting and working on forever. Once we decided we were going to start doing these indoor aquatics, we said, well, let's build a full-fledged facility. So it's about an $80 million facility. We're trying to elevate our recreational facilities. The Campion Trail comes through here, and we've got the dollars, and we're working towards finishing that. Isn't it great that we have to stop here because there's bikers and there's walkers and there's joggers? This quality of life.
You don't realize how important it is until you actually have it.
It makes your heart feel good that you did the right thing.
And also that just speaks to the quality of your people too.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole intent of this next State of the City is to show here's what the city of Irving has, and you have it because of the people who work here.
The conversation continues at the Irving Convention Center during State of the City on January 15th. Tickets are available through the Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce.
It's been a journey, but I'm just elated that I'm at the point where I'm at.
2, 3,
Today we're really excited to celebrate the ribbon cutting of Colonel's Cooking. April has been a member of the Irving Las Colinas Chamber for about 2 to 3 years, and we're really excited to come and make this official celebration with her.
What size would you like? 16 ounce.
She has so much passion. She's doing so well. It's such a nice gem of the community. So we're so excited just to watch it blossom.
We offer coffee, first and foremost. We also have breakfast and we have lunch, and then we also offer catering. I served in the military, so that's where the colonel comes. And so when I retired, I was trying to figure out like what to do with my time. So I ended up going to culinary school. And so from that, I decided to start the catering business. And then when I knew I was gonna, stop working for sure, this is like my retirement plan.
We know that it's going to be a fun place to come and have a cup of coffee and meet our friends and spend some time together.
What we've highlighted today is some of our breakfast items that we have here at the coffee shop. Our coffee is sourced, our roaster is in Pennsylvania. And what they do is that they take beans from off the coast of Africa and blend them.
Excellent food and coffee, drinks, all of that. Just love it.
We've been able to taste test all of her samplings of catering, and she just does a phenomenal job. You can really tell she has that spirit of excellence when it comes to the food that she makes, and you can tell just from her location that it's really transmuted into this space as well.
I've lived in Irving since '92. And so I wanted, when I started thinking about having a brick and mortar location, I wanted it to be in Irving.
Thank you so much for your commitment and your investment in our community.
It's a great addition to the neighborhood. You come in, she knows who you are, you feel the sense of community, and I just think it's a nice staple for many of years here in Irving.
I am so happy that we're open and we're here to support the community. And so with that, thank you.
It's called Blind Date with a Book. Pick a wrap book from the adult section at any Irving library by February 14th. When you're finished reading, fill out and return the included card by February 28th. Sundays at the Symphony are back. Join the new Philharmonic Orchestra of Irving for a concert featuring principal flute player Sherry Erstreich. The concert is on February 15th at 3:30 p.m. here at Carpenter Hall. From snow tubing to inflatables, FrostFest brings free family winter fun to Irving. There's a little something for snow angels of every age on February 21st at 10 a.m. Join the fun when Levy Event Plaza turns into a winter wonderland.
Do you know what last night was?
Marvelous.
It was my wedding anniversary, for God's sake.
Oh, really? Congratulations.
Oh, yes, it's a scream. I feel terrible about it.
Yes?
Like any farce, it's about madness and mayhem eventually. But at the heart of it, we are looking at 3 separate couples that are at different stages of their life.
We have the higher class that's more of like slow to anger. Then we have the middle class that's very chaotic and emotional. And then we have the odd couple, and they're just trying to climb the ladder, and they're kind of the goofballs.
There's nothing at all to get nervous about. Just stay calm. Oh, have a seat if you like.
No, I don't think I will.
Did you take your pill?
Yes.
Good.
And we are watching the inner workings of those 3 couples and how their lives are kind of overlapping.
I'll let you in on a little secret. Everybody thinks that I promoted William because he's the best man at his job. That's not the real reason. I'm after his lovely wife.
It's an adulterous farce, so 2 members of 2 of the couples have had an affair.
That leads to a bunch of chaos, and my character is probably the one that starts the problem.
What did you want to go hang out with him for?
He asked me, really.
Can't imagine that you have that much in common with William Detweiler.
Well, we talked shop, mostly.
Till 2 o'clock in the morning.
That and other things.
I wish you talked to me until 2 o'clock in the morning and other things.
He's quick-witted, overconfident, charming, but exasperating.
Sit down or shut up.
Why should I shut up? I'm just offering our friends a drink, that's all.
I'm warning you, I'll throw something.
Good, they'll enjoy that. She's got a good arm.
Teresa is kind of like a typical stay-at-home mom of the 70s. She's just trying to figure out who she is while also maintaining that persona of what women were supposed to be at that time frame. You know, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I've got this, but I don't really got this.
I mean, here I am, stuck in this house all day with Benjamin, and you're out having fun and God knows what else, and here I am, stuck here.
Everything is so fast-paced. People are coming and going off stage, rapid-fire lines, and you're just kind of like, what? what's gonna happen next? And that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it just creates this level of excitement that carries throughout the whole show.
Have you ever discussed your marriage with Bob at all?
Discussed it? How do you mean?
Talked about your marriage in detail. I think you know what I mean, William.
Oh, certainly not. No, I don't believe.
Thank you.
Whatever you like as far as characters or the scenic design, the sounds, the music, you'll get something out of it, whatever you're into.
I think it's always a wonderful idea to go see theater, and especially local theater, because I just don't think you'll get an experience like that anywhere else.
I don't know about the two of you, but I plan on enjoying myself. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day.
In advance of Irving's State of the City, it is time to go motoring with the mayor.
It is always interesting to me whenever I have the opportunity to do these things, to really see what's going on in our city.
So when did you start driving around?
I actually started back in the 90s when I had the privilege to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. They're wondering what I'm doing when I'm out running around and driving down through the middle of all this stuff and creating havoc.
So I'm along for the ride.
We're going to come into the urban center here.
How surprised, amazed, shocked are you that it has evolved the way that it has evolved?
It's amazing to me. This is the biggest live, work, play environment in the Metroplex. We have over 5,000 multifamily units, over 2,500 single-family units, and about 4 million square feet of office. We can see up here on our left, Christus Healthcare. The State Bank of Texas, they actually are growing. They have filled up that building. You know, Caterpillar, they started out with a couple of floors, and they're adding more, as well as we just cut the ribbon on the Wells Fargo building. One of the things I'm really excited about that I believe was the catalyst for all this was when the city of Irving bought the 40 acres that now has the Music Factory and the Convention Center on it, and the Convention Center Hotel. And when you talk to Caterpillar, when you talk to Wells Fargo and these others, they say this was a draw for them. You know, we have over 14,000 hotel rooms. We have people that are in them all the time. And the hospitality industry pays for a lot of the debt of the city, so it's important that the hoteliers reinvest. I'm going to drive by the new Fox 4 facility, rocking and rolling. That's the new H-E-B grocery store.
Yes.
So everybody's excited about that.
Everybody's excited about that.
I mean, you drive down and you've got Microsoft, you got McKesson, you got Vistra Energy. It just goes on and on and on of the companies that have made a commitment to be in our city. Well, Chuck, you got to see about a fourth of what they wanted me to show.
The conversation continues at the Irving Convention Center during State of the City on January 15th. Tickets are available through the Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood for equality, peace, and unity.
Without him doing what he did, I would not be in the same living situation I'm in, because my parents are both different races.
He took his learnings from Mahatma Gandhi, so he was very non-violent protester, and I think that's a lot of the stuff that we need to see today.
Dr. King's legacy lives on and is celebrated at the city's annual MLK Observance event.
It's a long-standing tradition that we've had here in Irving, so it's always a great event filled with entertainment and some educational parts.
The program features performances by Dallas Black Dance Theater, Cherish Love Robinson, and several other musical presentations. This year's theme, Together We Dream, Building Stronger Community Through Action, is highlighted through the winners of the annual MLK Essay Contest.
This year it was how can we use acts of kindness and courage to strengthen our urban community.
With a community so diverse, there are many aspects that set us apart from one another. Yet, there is one thing we all have in common. We seek to build relationships with those around us, which is what forms the very foundation of the bond that our community shares.
The main theme of my essay is mostly how Irving communities, they help each other. There are still people willing to look out for one another and build a stronger community by going to community events and using social media to help others.
It's always interesting to read and to see that the kids are really tuned into what Dr. King was all about everyone having equal opportunities, living together as one and loving and respecting each other. So it's really great when you start to see that in the youth.
5-time essay contest winner.
Okay, we're ready to go back on the air. We'll go ahead and go through the regular agenda. Items number 2 and 3 are work session meetings and regular minutes for January 29th, 2026. Item 4 is a resolution approving election service contract between the Dallas County Elections Administration and participating political subdivisions, including the City of Irving, in the amount not to exceed $300,000 to administer the regular municipal election for the purpose of electing the position of mayor and city council, place 3 and 5, and subsequent runoff elections if necessary, and any special elections to be held on Saturday, May 2nd. Item number 5 is expressing support for reform of the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board governance structure, including requesting legislative action to implement the new DART governance structure. Adam.
Could we talk about this one?
Sure.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and just walk through
Go ahead.
The conversation, if that's all right.
Chris has been living this for about 6 months, every week.
Mayor and Council, I believe you received in your packet a spreadsheet that walked you through some of the updates that we have been going through as a working group of city managers on the governance committee. The mayor's correct. Over the last 6 months, we've been trying to come up with a model that would be what we feel would be better representative of the cities, the member cities, as well as trying to maintain some proportionality. We actually started these conversations a number of years ago. They became a little bit more in earnest when we had our last legislative session. There was proposed legislation from Senator Parker that addressed the governance issue. Those changes did not go through and were not passed, as we have talked with DART and the other member cities, in Irving in particular, and for a number of other member cities. Governance is a very important discussion point for them. There were, as we were meeting as a working group, several key priorities and guiding principles that we were looking for to ensure that a new governance model would hopefully be able to address. As we were meeting with the other member cities last summer, when the reapportionment meeting occurred, every 5 years, the DART board has to go through a reapportionment analysis and a study under the current model. As you know, under the current model, different member cities may share one of those seats. For example, one representative on the DART board represents 4 different cities. I believe that that can be a challenge to ensure that that board member, if you have competing interests or competing ideals from any one of those member cities that that board representative may represent, how do you balance that? So as we are looking at that reapportionment approach, when we were all meeting as the member cities determined last summer that they would support the continuation of the existing model, but really push to have governance be changed at the next legislative session. So the cities that were frustrated with the existing governance model said, we'll keep the same model so long as we see the light at the end of the tunnel relative to a change in governance. So ever since then, we have been working very hard to try and come up with that. We really had 5 basic guiding principles as we were looking at making changes to the governance model. First, is we felt that it was very important for every member city to have a full seat. So we would not be dividing those votes by, or those seats by any X number of cities. That if you are a member city, you should have a full seat at the table. One of our other goals, especially initially, was to not only have 1 full seat, but 1 full vote for each member city as well. We'll get back to that in a minute. That's going to be a change from what you see here. We also felt that it was important that no one member city holds a majority of the board vote. Right now, that is the case. Dallas does hold the majority of that board. We also felt that proportionality of the voting process should still be maintained. You have cities that are in population size smaller than others, and you also have some very large cities, with Dallas in particular being the largest. So trying to ensure that there's some proportionality to that vote, and to ensure that the interest of larger cities are met while still ensuring that the interests of smaller cities are met as well. We felt that proportionality to population and or sales taxes and what's being contributed should be considered. We also wanted to ensure that that the model would allow for growth in population or sales taxes, particularly in population, for current member cities, and also allow a framework for new member cities to come into the DART system, and based upon their size, their population, that they would have the ability to have X number of seats, and creating a scale that would allow and accommodate for that. We feel it would be very difficult for a new member city to come into the system and have less than a full seat at the table, or not enough seats if there are larger cities, say, just for example, Arlington, who has a very large population, close to 500,000. Just having 1 seat or 1 vote would maybe be a challenge or detriment for them or any city wanting to come in to join DART. So what you have here and what you were presented is, as the working group started coming up with a framework, I should say, at the time, right around September, what could that look like? You can see the original working group framework. It addressed most of what we see as our guiding principles. It had 1 full seat, it had a full vote, but it also added up to, as we were looking at that, you can see 104%. So we would have to make some tweaks and changes, but at least it was a start to the discussion as we worked with the larger working group of mayors and managers to see what their response was. Overall, when this was presented back last September, October, the overall group said, this is a good start. We like the approach. Dallas did express some concerns relative to proportionality. And we asked Dallas, what would your thoughts be and what proposal would you like to see relative to governance? Dallas had several meetings at their transportation committee talking about governance. Most recently, in their January meeting, they discussed some of the parameters that they would be willing to look at. And specifically, their parameters were that they would want Dallas to be somewhere in the 40 to 50% range in terms of percentage of vote. Some of the council members did not want to give up the majority But the majority of the committee members decided that it was important to move forward with the understanding that no one city have the majority, but there were still some other direct discussions that they had and what they were looking for. So what we did in Irving is we took that feedback from what we had heard at that Dallas Transportation Committee and what their parameters would be, and we made a proposal, which you then see here in a modified framework. We then made a proposal trying to address Dallas's concerns. Again, they wanted to be at the 40 to 50% range. We did do that. One of the areas that made it difficult in trying to maintain proportionality and also trying to keep the size of the board at a reasonable level. Right now it's 15 members. The original group proposal was 20 members. In order to really have a full seat and a full vote and maintain proportionality, you would then have about 26 board members. We just felt that that was just too much and too many. And so we're trying to balance all of these, at times maybe competing ideals. So what we did is in our modification is we let go of the one full vote concept and really tried to keep the proportional voting percentage relative and somewhat representative to the population and or the sales tax contributions. We felt that that was a good guiding principle. So you would see there Irving's proposal that would still have 22 seats. Another point of feedback from Dallas was under the original proposal, they would have 5 seats. They requested a minimum of 7 seats. So we addressed that by going from 20 to 22. We did modify the weight proposal where the smaller cities in terms of population would have a quarter or a potential half a vote as opposed to a full vote. Dallas in their transportation committee and in their proposal from staff based upon that transportation committee and in their discussions with council, Dallas made the determination that they did not want to be below 45%. So with our proposal with Dallas at 43.75%, they made some modifications, as you can see there, where Dallas at a minimum would be at 45%. They would hold that position as well. So as member cities may come and go, they would hold their 45%, and the percentage of proportional vote to the suburban cities would then be adjusted accordingly, but Dallas would always be holding and staying at 45. So that's where you then see Dallas's proposal taking what we had put together, making a few small modifications, putting themselves at 45%. So what you see here is a proposal from Dallas based upon our modification, based upon the original proposal that the group had come up with last September. I believe it addresses the majority of what we were looking for. I believe it addresses the core issues that we felt relative to our concerns about how the current DART board makeup is. And although it's not, I think, everything that is a working group in the cities we were hoping for, and I think in particular that one full vote is a touch point still for some cities, Addison in particular, in our working group has expressed concern that they really wanted a full vote. Other smaller cities have mentioned that so long as they have a full seat, they can work with the proportionality of the proposal. So there's a mix of responses back there. But what you have in front of you, Mayor and Council, is what I believe is a good, reasonable compromise that will make important changes to the DART board that will allow every city to have a seat at the DART board, and that their voting percentage is proportional to their population and generally their sales tax contributions as well. I think it is the fairest approach. It allows for the growth and the addition of other cities as well. And I believe that if we can, as a city, move forward in a resolution supporting this, and that if other cities can move forward as well, the city of Dallas has already done so, the DART board also passed a resolution in support of this model and concept, we would then go down at this next legislative session, hand in hand, hopefully with all 13 member cities, to say we have governance changes legislature that we would like to implement. We are all on the same page because the governance model is changed via legislation. So we would still be holding the current board makeup until the legislature would then approve any changes. So that's what you have in front of you. Mayor, I hope I covered everything
Yeah,
that you're
so
looking for.
Chris, give us the numbers of what they are now.
You bet.
We were at 1.5, but we had 2 seats, but we shared that second seat.
Yes.
And it was originally 8% of the vote. And go ahead and tell us and then DART had their proposal, we had our proposal. What did it end up being?
Yep, so what we have here is we would be going from a board of 15 seats to a board of 22 seats. The city of Irving would have 2 full seats and 2 full votes as part of the new board makeup. And I'll just run down through each of the cities. Addison would have 1 full seat with 0.44% of the vote. Carrollton would have 1 full seat with 1.38%. I'm sorry, that's of the membership, but I'm sorry, Addison would have 2% of the vote. Carrollton would have 6.25% of the vote. Cockrell Hill would have 2% as well. Dallas would be at 45. Farmers Branch would be at 2%. Garland would be at 9.5%, 2% for Glen Heights. Highland Park, 2%. Irving and Plano at 9.5%. So you can see the 3 cities of Irving, Plano, and Garland that have roughly the same population would have the same percentage of vote. Richardson would be at 6.25%, and then 2% for Rowlett and 2% for University Park. That would then be a total of 22 seats with a total percentage vote adding up to 100, which again was one of the challenges of the previous model. It would add up to 104, and we'd have to make some tweaks and changes anyways on that.
And the real challenge you run into is you can look and see that we're working with 2 things here. We're looking with dollars put in, we're looking with population. Because if you take Garland, for example, as far as population, they're 9.54, but as far as money coming in, it's only 5.75. So they end up with 2 seats where we end up with 2 seats, but yet the percentage of sales tax we're putting in is 12.57. So we're putting in twice as much money, but based on population, we have the same number of seats. And that's always been one of the things that I've wrestled with, that when we start talking about, dollars and cents and how it comes back to a city, because I believe if you're going to give dollars, and I'm off a little bit, but I just want to air this out because I want to know if I can say this publicly amongst other people. It's always been a concern of mine that while I can accept the fact that we've got 2 votes and they've got 2 votes, when money comes back to a city, I've always had a concern that if just because your population is there and you've only put half as much into the pot, you shouldn't get as much back as someone who's put twice as much into the pot. That's always been my heartburn in giving percentages of money back. It should be based on the percent that you put in. You should get 5% of that, not 5% of the whole. And that's one of the things we're still going to have to kick around a little bit, because to me, if the votes I can live with, okay, everybody based on population. But what I have my concerns with is how we give out the money based upon the money in. You should be given the percentage based on what you put in, not based on your population. So
Mayor, if I can provide
I'm off
any-
track a little bit there, but I just wanted to air that before because that'll be something in our next discussion.
And Mayor, to your very example there, we did run into that issue with our last GMP distribution by DART. There were dollars that were coming back to the city. In Irving, we received $25 million. The distribution model that the DART board determined how those dollars would come back, and these are all sales tax dollars that were coming back. So again, these are sales tax dollars that were provided by the cities. There's obviously a certain proportional share of sales tax dollars that each city is giving, but that redistribution back of those sales tax dollars was changed to a percentage of population as opposed to the percentage of what was actually contributed by each city of those sales tax dollars. That was a difference of about $19 million, if I recall correctly. And there were a lot of conversations at the DART board on how that money should be redistributed. Obviously, for some cities, having a redistribution by population gave them more money than what they had actually contributed in actual dollars in terms of percentage of the sales tax. In the end, all the cities received at least what they had contributed in sales tax as a percentage, and then those that were expecting additional dollars based upon that redistribution by population, I believe COG stepped up and provided the $19 million to help make everybody whole, and that's how that discussion ended up, Mayor, if I'm recalling correctly.
No, and the way that worked was we had X amount percentage, and so we got X amount of dollars. I'm just picking a number, 25 million.
Mm-hmm.
But you take a city like Dallas, who has put in 440 million. I'm just picking a number. But yet, when you put in their population, then they should get another 30 million. And I'm saying, well, don't take that 30 million away from the rest of us. You get what you put in. But then, in order to settle it, the COG just came in and gave us an extra bunch of monies to make it. So they ended up getting what they put in plus more because of population increase. But as we talk about how we give our percentages back in the next phase of this with the 5%, the 7%, the 10%, I don't want to get into that game of population trumps money put in. If we put 120 million in, we deserve 5% of that 120 million.
Mayor and Council, as you know, there are...
I'm clouding the waters a little bit from what we're talking about today, but that's the next thing. I think we've got something worked out here, but I float that out there just to see if I have the support of the council when we start that discussion, that we want our full 5% back based on our numbers.
Yep. Mayor?
Okay.
Yes, yeah, it should be based upon how much you pay. I mean, you look at so Richardson gets one vote, one person, and Garland gets two, even though Richardson pays in twice as much. It'd be interesting to see if Richardson's okay with that. I guess they are.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Richardson.
Okay. Yeah, if I were on the Richardson City Council, I'd be looking askance at that. And then I guess we don't know whether the Park Cities, what they plan on doing, either one of them.
Again, I wouldn't want to speak for the Park Cities and whether they would be continuing. Mayor and Council, as you know, as a city and as a lot of the member cities, we're working on some very specific discussions with DART. We have a number of concerns. Governance is the core issue. We have three major core issues that we are trying to work out with DART: the governance model, the finance model, and the service model. This is from the governance model perspective, where we have ended up as a working group with all the feedback in approaching one of those three specific areas of concern. We're still working on the finance side. There's also service issues, and I think all three of those models are going to be taken into consideration by any city that has called or could potentially call for a pull-out election. So whether those Park Cities would continue or not based upon just a governance model, whether they would still be looking for something on the service model or the finance model, that would be for them to talk about.
So speaking of the Park Cities, I guess there's been more talk that they actually would go forward with their vote and get out. Then this structure then doesn't work anymore. And you said Dallas wants 45% as a minimum, but not as a maximum.
They would hold, in my conversations directly with Dallas, they would hold that percentage if the Park Cities were, say, to vote out and not be members of DART. Dallas would hold their position at 45%, and what would be created in terms of availability of percentage votes would then be distributed out amongst the suburban cities. So they would hold at 45%.
So then you go to the fractional shares again if it gets distributed out?
You would adjust the proportional shares, the proportion of voting of what you see here, and that would have to be discussed and finalized.
Thanks.
But Dallas would be holding at 45%.
I think it's a good faith effort by everybody to try to move forward. This is probably the easiest for us to get to the bottom of. The next two are going to be the challenge when we start talking about actual dollars and things of that nature. Chris, you can hop in here because Chris is living this every day. But we're looking at, it's been proposed, so it's out there, it's open record that the DART board has held back 5% already, And so there is 5% that's been cut from the budget, that we know that's already been cut from the budget, so that money is just sitting there. And their proposal is that they would hold and continue to pay that 5%. And then over a time frame, they would hold a percentage out and get us to, I think, 7.5, and then they're trying to get RTC to come up with another 2.5 or so and get us to like 10% or a combination of they're guaranteeing 5, and they're willing to go to 7.5, but they want to be able to work with RTC on the other makeup of it, whatever that percentage ends up being. But I think, Mark, your question and others, we really got to nail this down to the point of that's the minimum and that's the maximum that Dallas would always hold at 45 regardless. I think we need to nail down that 5% is on cash, not based on population. And those are the things that we're working towards. So I think the governance we're in good shape on. I would appreciate everybody supporting it as a good faith. The more I think most of the cities will move forward with this. And then we're going to have the next 12, 13 days. RTC's voting this afternoon, and they're going to have to come up and make some commitments to us in the next 5, 6 days about what the actual numbers will be. Chris, am I overstating that?
You're exactly correct. Right now, Dennis is at the RTC meeting. Orlando is at the RTC meeting. They had a workshop this morning. RTC is looking at a $75 million assistance package that would help DART pay for different things that DART could then provide sales tax dollars back to the member cities as part of that GMP, which is the General Mobility Plan dollars. That $75 million is that 2.5% that the mayor just mentioned. So what's on the proposal right now would be a total of 10%, 5% from DART, I think in the first year, because that's already budgeted, and then over the next 5 years, 2.5% from DART, 2.5% match from COG, and that's what's being discussed today right now. So as we talked about the 3 pillars, the governance model, the finance model, and the service model, the finance model is still being discussed literally as we are sitting here right now. I'm watching my text to see how it's going with Dennis in Orlando, to see how that conversation goes. I believe they're going to be making the decision later on this afternoon about that 3:30, 3:45 timeframe. The service model is going to be very unique to each different city. And as a working group, we've been working on separating out regional costs versus local or intra-city costs, trying to come up with the appropriate formulas or appropriate methodologies on how to make those determinations. But I do see the service model issues being really more of a city-by-city discussion with DART itself on what each city would be looking for relative to the service, especially on an intra-city service perspective.
And I think that the one thing that, I went on the point a little bit on the dollars is how do we get the dollars that we get back? How can we spend them? There's legislation, there's legislative law that tells how we can and can't spend that. But we also got to look at it from the perspective of if they take something away from us so they don't have to pay for it, and then asking us to take the money that we're getting back to put it back in to pay for it, that really doesn't iron the situation out. We're just pushing the air from one side to the other side, and we're not getting anything. So the reality of it is we're going to have to really look at the governance part or the financial state part of it to make sure that we do it. Now, what I committed to was I said, okay, this all sounds good, and you've got 5% sitting in the bank. Give the 5% back as a sign of goodwill to all the cities. Now, why wait? Why wait? And there was a little hesitation, so I said, okay, well, I'll even sweeten the pie a little bit. I didn't say it that way. I said, well, how about if I know my biggest concern in our city is the elimination of 2 routes that cost $2.1 million. I would be willing to give out of the $5 million at this point, the 2.1, to get it back into the system. Now, that's not the game I want to play all the time, but it's also, if it gets the money and it gets the routes back, for now, that's one way to try to accomplish what we're all really trying to accomplish is providing the ridership that's needed in the city. So that's one alternative. The other is that we really need to look and see what can COG pay for with their dollars versus what DART can pay for with their dollars. For example, DART pays for, or the RTC pays for VIA in other cities. They pay for different things in other cities. So maybe that would be what we would then utilize to provide an intra, which is not part of the whole backbone. Because Chris is going through right now is what is a regional lines and what are local lines within the grouping. So we want to make sure we get those separated out. But local would be, trying to get people through the 4 zones that we have here in the city of Irving without having to get out of the vehicle and get into another vehicle to get from north, south, east, or west within the city. So there's a lot of moving parts, and hopefully you've got an idea of what we're working with now. Governance, I think we can come to a kind of good agreement on. The dollars, we're close and coming up with a percentage. The real, it may not be the percentage we like, and it may not happen as fast as we want. We're going to probably look at a 6-year time frame to get to the 25% because it's going to be harder and harder for them to just keep taking 5% of their budget every year. So we're going to have to figure out how to work that through and if there's some other ways we can do it. And so cooperation with RTC. The other thing that's being thrown out there is the possibility of selling or creating another entity to manage the rails. So the Silver Line and the TRE would be managed by another authority, which then would require DART to be more just dealing with the buses and the light rail and in the cities. Well, then at that point, we could even reduce the percentages more than the 25% based on another entity taking those things. And then that opens the whole idea of who takes the debt, because there's $2.2 billion of the debt that was just issued for. And we would want the entity that took a brand new shiny toy to pay for the brand new shiny toy rather than us pay for it on our back. So there's a lot of things we can do that potentially could even get us to a point where we're getting back a greater percentage than the 25%. But that's to be determined by.
We'll know a little bit more this afternoon. So what, again, you have in front of you for your consideration is a resolution of support for the proposed governance model. Again, what Dallas provided, their modified version, tweaks what we had submitted as our modified version. I believe that it still wraps up and encapsulates the majority of what we were trying to do in terms of our guiding principles and how we were starting off and what we were looking for. So therefore, I would recommend that you look at this, you consider this, and that you support this as a resolution so that we can move forward on our governance model and go down to the legislature at this upcoming session to make these changes.
Hal.
Thank you, Mayor. For the edification for the rest of the members, I had the opportunity, along with Dennis Webb and David Fath, to be at the DART session, I guess it was 2 days ago? Tuesday. And I really came away feeling pretty good that they had listened, and I actually had to tell you that I thought the Chairman Randall was very good about trying to keep it in, I think, a more positive light. And so that you all know, I'm comfortable that from the governance side, I think we're there. I think what I'm more concerned about at this point is what the numbers will really look like and or percentages, because I think those are it's a negotiation that both sides or all sides are going to have to come to grips with it. So, but then where I come with it, and this is probably more for you, Chris, is that I know that we, meaning you and your reports, are looking at and have put out proposal for some of the I guess I want to call it VIA type transit or local transit. Do we have a sense or what our aim is and what that costs, and how does that relate, Mayor, to the $5 million or whatever the amount that we're going to be getting to try to go forward? and I think it might be just, without getting too deep in it, but just, we do have a solution. We don't know what it is yet, am I correct?
Yes, sir. You as a council know, we had the discussion and the presentation by staff, I believe it was the last meeting or the meeting before, relative to the options that we would be pursuing as a city if the vote were to continue to move forward and if the residents were to vote to remove Irving out of the DART system. We wanted to make sure as a city that we had the appropriate transportation solutions to help our residents be able to still move around within our city and ensure that the paratransit services would be maintained. We have been working with a company to ensure that those options are available and ready. And depending on how our conversations go over the next week to 2 weeks, we will be coming back to you as a council, depending on, again, how the RTC goes today. I'm looking at the February 26th meeting with a final recommendation and a final wrap-up of where we are at. We have the governance piece. I think we'll be able to finalize, at least with the RTC vote today, the finance piece. The service piece we would then be bringing to you on how we would propose to address some of the service deficiencies that we feel would still exist under the proposals that have been placed out there and how we would address that.
If I remember correctly, some of the discussion, but now I'm relating it to us, for us to then be able to, and probably Shanae will have something to say about this, as to the backdating from our election as to when do we fish or cut bait to be sure that we go forward. If I looked at the numbers, it's around March 23rd, March 24th, am I correct?
In order to have all the information over to the county on what would be printed or not printed on the ballot, that needs to be determined, I just asked Shanae, on February 27th. So your meeting on the 26th is the day before. I'm hoping for a good positive outcome today at the RTC. If that is the case, you will be likely receiving not just that update at our next council meeting, but a recommendation from myself on how to move forward and how to address the finance, the governance, and the service model pieces that we've been focusing in on. And I believe that we will have, again, with the decision by the RTC today, enough information for y'all to have an alternative to continuing with the election. Again, that has been my commitment to you as a city manager, to the council, that I would be looking to try and bring an alternative for your consideration, for you to look at and to then decide if you wanted to then continue with the election or not continue with the election. And I believe we'll have all of that information on the 26th for you to be able to make that final decision.
Yeah, Mayor, that's really the critical point at this point. Because I think for all of us, I personally would not like to have to deal with this after the 26th. If we can get it done, vote it, and go from there. Now, procedurally, is it just us taking a vote to rescind our previous vote? What's the actual legal position? And maybe KO, you need
I will
get
turn to
into
KO
this.
for that answer.
It would be a vote by the council to cancel the election.
Okay.
We do have to provide some notice as we did before, and so we'll follow those steps.
Okay, that's what I needed.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, item number 6 is amending the consolidated schedule for fees effective October 12th. Item number 7 is a resolution by the City of Irving, Texas, authorizing publication of notices of intent to issue a combination tax and surplus revenue certificates of obligation and providing for other matters incidental thereto. Item number 8 is a resolution approving a contract with Cvent in the amount not to exceed $333,958.10 for supplies, network accessory, network assessor paid, advertising, placement, productive tools, multiple use, and request a proposal from the Commission of Visitors Bureau. Item number 9 is resolution awarding a contract to Tactrical, I'm having trouble talking today, movement for the demolition in the amount of $127,000 for the building located at 1045 Hidden Ridge. Item number 10 is a resolution approving and accepting the bid of Felix Construction in the amount of $1,472,500 for the Doe Branch Discharge Flow Control Vault output improvements. Number 11 through 18 are the bids. Any questions on the bids? Yes, Hal? Sure. Maura, you want to give us an update on item number 8?
And walk us through that because, thank you.
Mayor, Council, Maura Gast, Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau. This is a 2.5-year contract with CVent. CVent is a pretty much the dominant, is that still working? There it is. Supplier in our space. It's an online platform that engages about 145,000 meeting planners around the world with a database of about 7 million events a year that allow us to be in good position to bid on any of those events for our Irving hotels. We've been involved with CVent for a number of years. Somebody opted out of a higher level of sponsorship, which they have a very premium number of, so we have grabbed that higher level of sponsorship to keep moving forward with access to the platform. The platform is tied directly into our customer relationship management system, so as leads come in, they come automatically into our system, which makes it easier for us to get out to all of our hotels. Not all of our hotels participate in CVent. It's very expensive, so on behalf of those that don't, this allows us to keep an eye out on this lead source as well.
You almost read me on what I was going to ask next. That's the staff that you have that's augmenting a CVent approach locally.
Correct. It's a massive lead distribution service, and you have to pay a lot to play.
And that, from our standpoint, what you're managing, I think it's important because it's not all CVent. It's also what you have on staff that's really
Absolutely. We're still doing direct sales, still doing trade shows, still doing sales calls, all those kinds of things. This is just another avenue. What this allows meeting planners to do is to simultaneously source a lead to 20 states, 200 cities, everybody in the system, instead of having to make 20 or 50 different contacts.
If you had to do a thumbnail, you probably already know the answer. CVent versus everything that you have under your control that you're dealing with staff-wise.
It's a tool we can't function without anymore.
Yeah. Is there would you say it's 30% versus your 70 or 50-50?
It's a huge
not finite.
volume.
I'm just trying to get a feel for it.
Yeah, it's a huge volume of leads, but the conversion, because planners can source so many all at once, the conversion rates are very low, but you are doing yourself and your destination great disservice by not participating. If you're not there, you're invisible to the planners. And a lot of these meetings are quick turn, corporate types events, and that's the reason they're sourcing so many places all at once, is they need to find a place to do the meeting when they need to do it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Maura. Any questions on the bids? Okay, item number 19 is an ordinance amending ordinance number ORD 2025 through 11194, and ordinance number ORD 2026 11214 to update the early voting dates for the May 2nd, 2026 municipal election. Number 20 is amending section 6 through 41 of Chapter 6 entitled Animal Services of the Code of Civil and Criminal Ordinances of the City of Irving related to appeals and of aggressive dog determinations. And that brings us to item number 21, which is a public hearing and resolution adopting guidelines and criteria governing tax abatement agreements. And after that, we're at our zoning cases. Item number 22.
Mayor, could I ask a follow-up question on our, and this is for you, Shanae. What's the number now for you to conduct our election process for the May 2nd election?
The number of,
How much?
300.
oh,
If I remember correctly, it was between 400 and 500,000.
It just depends. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on who pulls out of the election. It depends.
We're going to approve 300,000.
Y'all are approving 300,000, but the amount it actually costs could be over or under that amount, depending on who pulls out of the election. Dallas County has now moved their elections to November, but many municipalities still want to use Dallas County polling places because it brings people in to vote. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. They're still talking about it and recommending Dallas County polling places. So there's still a lot up in the air as to the approved vote centers.
Yeah, and I brought it up because you and I have talked about this, and this is important for the rest of the council. I remember one of the past elections, it cost almost 450,000. And so
That
what
was
happens to us,
collective bargaining.
It depends, right? When the timing is and if it's part of the general process. So it's important for us to know. So we got a little bit break on this one, I think, at this time. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Jocelyn Murphy, Director of Planning. We've got several cases tonight, so we'll get into it. Melba's going to help me on the first case. It is 3801 Pleasant Run. This is the rezoning part of a recent affordable housing project that y'all saw, I guess you approved in January 14th. Staff recommends approval, P&Z recommends approval 8-0. We have one letter of support and one in opposition. So Melda's going to give you just a quick reminder of the Dallas County funding.
Thanks, Jocelyn. So Melda Speck, Housing and Redevelopment. So this is an aerial, again, just showing where the property is located off of Pleasant Run. As a reminder, again, this is part of an affordable housing development agreement that we have with the developer. The funding came through Dallas County's ARPA funding. That agreement was approved back in April of 2024 for the city to receive $5 million. This is one of the recipients of the $5 million. Again, these funds are to be used only for the acquisition of the property in order to ensure that we expend that $5 million by the federal deadline. And we went through an RFP process over the summer, and this is the second of two projects selected. So Housing Channel and Soul Development are co-developing this project, again located at 3801 Pleasant Run. This will be the home ownership project that's being supported with these funds. We'll be building 62 affordable single-family homes, targeting households at 120% AMI and under, majority of those at the 80% area median income. Green spaces, dog parks, walking trails, and again, we've had experience with Housing Channel on several projects here in Irving. They have just some high-level deal points again. Acquire the property before August 31st of this year. They have the minimum of 50 units to build, but again, they are planning on that 62, so the zoning would be capped at 17 units per acre. We will have deed restrictions on this within the development agreement for the 120% AMI for an affordability of 12 years, also with resale restrictions to ensure that affordability stays for that full 12-year period. And then also included the restriction on the rental and third-party occupancy during that affordability period. Overview again of the site plan that was presented as part of their proposal. The zoning case will get to where they refined in order to better meet our zoning development standards. The proposed elevations just show again what some of the layouts will be for the homes, and then the rendering of what the elevations would look like with color. That's it.
All right, so the next phase was then to go through the zoning process, and of course, last August, we updated our multifamily development standards. So they went through and identified the variances they'll need in order to create this essentially townhouse-style product. So this is just their formal site plan that will be tied to the ordinance with all of the notes. This is their layout, which, again, each of these are one story. Some of them are fourplexes or three. They're actually attached, but they are individual condo units. This is their landscape plan. They will have 3 areas of open space. This one over here, I believe, is going to be a dog park. They will have some trails through the site, and they've also proposed various trees and shrub planting. So this is a summary of their variances that we compared to the new Section 3.13, which is our multifamily standards. Of course, we have a maximum height of 8 stories. They're providing 2 stories with 36 feet in a townhouse form. For the landscaping adjacent to the buildings, since these are a different type of multifamily buildings, they are not providing any trees adjacent to the principal structures. Instead, they're scattering trees around the site. They are providing a perimeter buffer, which is essentially on the edge of the property, so they will provide the trees and the 8 trees and the 20 trees as required. Planting in the open spaces, they're providing about half, so 11 trees instead of the 21 that are required. Shrubs, about half of the shrubs that they would be required. And for outdoor amenities, they're providing the dog park, the trail, and the playground. They're not providing a swimming pool. So for private outdoor space on the first floor, required is 120 square feet. They have a front porch that is more defined. That's about 75 square feet. They will not have any covered parking. All the parking will be in various parking lots, but none of those will have carports or any type of coverage. Bicycle storage will be inside each unit, and they'll have no separate amenities. A normal, larger multifamily complex typically has the gyms, the fitness centers, clubhouses, and the work areas. As these are individual condo units, they will not have the centralized type of amenities. And just getting in, it is an existing future land use for multifamily. The units, the property up here to the north is a multifamily complex, of course, multifamily in the area. This was supposed to be the second half of that development. That did not come to play for whatever reason. So it's essentially a continuation of the multifamily to the north. So, you're going to take it over?
So just going on back to the development side, they'll go through the consideration for zoning tonight, and then if approval, go forward with the acquisition of the property through March and April. They'll start working on their civil engineering plans to then submit by the end of this year, kicking off construction on the site development next year, starting to deliver phase 1 in 2027, 28, and completing by 29, just with all the closings. So.
Mark.
You have a question for Jocelyn. Yeah, so this is zoned multifamily because we don't have a separate townhome zoning type of ordinance, right?
Right. The difference, so whether it's multifamily rental or a for sale condo type product, the difference is it's all one lot. So they may own their individual units, but it's all on one platted lot, and then, of course, the common spaces are owned by and managed by all of the owners.
Do some cities have any zoning like that for owned townhomes?
I don't believe so. I've never heard of having condo. So townhomes are different, of course. Townhomes are individually platted lots off public streets. How they get the utilities are different, individual meters. That's different than the way a condo or a multifamily is laid out. A condo or multifamily, again, it's all an ownership difference, is under the same building code.
It seems like, they're very different things, and, we have the standard, we pass the standards for minimum height, for apartment buildings, but this is a very different concept than that. And it seems like it's a square peg in a round hole. But
they could have done this format if they had done platted streets and divided into lots and had to have built, to the city code for streets. So that was an option, but often people will build in the condo format when they want to just do internal driveways, not to public standards.
If there were such an option, I think we'd like to look at that as part of charter review. I think we might do one of those at some point, but I don't know if it's viable or not, but we can look at that later. Thanks.
Any other questions? I like the concept. I understand, it's a great opportunity for affordable housing, but there's a few things that maybe we can look at differently. I agree on not putting the trees close to the foundations, because then all of a sudden you're repairing foundations, especially on these small of a lots. There's really not enough room in there for the trees, and you start breaking up the sidewalks and everything else around it. Do we, maybe this is getting too deep in the woods, but more and more I keep hearing in areas where we have sub-associations or homeowners associations for small developments. For example, we got the one up there in Valley Ranch with 60-some houses in it and a $10,000 wall that fell, or $10 million wall that fell down, and now they don't know, they didn't fully fund it. And so my concern is, do we ever require in these situations some type of a reserve analysis for these type of homes? And I know this is digging deep into the woods, but it just seems more and more as we approve these smaller areas where there's common grounds, and then when the common grounds start getting all tore up, they come to the city and say, hey, we've got a big problem here because the people who are supposed to be putting the reserves together don't put enough money in the reserves. And if we're going to have this at a level where at affordability, the people that there are not going to be able to all of a sudden write a check for $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 if something breaks. That's always, I can ask the applicant, but I just see more and more where even in $1 million homes in neighborhoods where all of a sudden they've got to write checks for $20,000, $30,000 because something falls down. And I really don't want to put somebody in an affordable housing situation where these type of things happen to them. And I don't know if there's anything we do about it. I'm just making a comment. I can check with the individuals, but they have a pretty good track record in working with us, though, and maintaining their property as well. So that's a positive.
We just on the development agreement side, we don't require that analysis or reserve analysis in our development agreement now.
Thank you. Next one.
Next case is 1815 Durham Street. The applicant did request that this case be postponed February 26th. He said he had a conflict in his schedule, so he will not be here tonight.
So does he want to pull it, or?
Just a motion to postpone to February 26th is what he's looking for. Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear if it was pull or postpone. So.
Yes. You should have a memo. The next case is 3723 Confluence. This was postponed from your last meeting. If you recall, this was the ambulance service, and there was some discussion about their license. You do have a memo on what we received. I'll get into the discussion we had with them this week in just a second. It's 3723 Confluence, their ML20A today, rezoned to CC Community Commercial for an ambulance dispatch, which is allowed in CC. Staff recommends approval. P&Z recommends approval 8-0, and there was no opposition or support. This property is just west of the West Irving Aquatic Center in the General Bear Creek area. It's zoned, or it's future land use for local commercial. The zoning is light industrial, so the CC commercial zoning gets us closer to our future land use that we see for the area, which would ideally be away from industrial. So this was a site plan that we got from the building permit just to get an idea of what was going on inside the building. We did meet with them this week to understand a little bit more what their intentions are for the building, how the site would operate, ambulances as they would store on site. I'll let them get into a little more of the detail tonight explaining their use. But we did discuss their licenses, and they have a state license, and they just add the different addresses for their stations onto that license. So you have a copy of that we got today. And they, if I'm correct, they did complete their city license this week as well. I know they had submitted it and they had to pay for it. So they should have both of the licenses. So if they get their zoning approved tonight, then their next step will be to work through the building permit process, make sure that what they're proposing is what the building permit is being requested for, making sure all of the fire codes and all the building codes are met, and then they would be allowed to operate. Again, sounds like they've got their licenses straight. So just approving the zoning tonight, they still have a few steps that they'll have to take in order to operate the use. And here's a picture of the existing property. They do have a CO currently for office warehouse, so they have been using the front for office, and they need to do some revisions on their building permit site plan as well, but they would continue to use that for office as well as expand into the rear. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
John?
Thank you, Mayor. So I think, Jocelyn, you answered my question, but just to confirm, Chief, you got what you need? Is
No, he did.
you did?
Victor Conley, Fire Chief. Yes, sir, they did fill out the permit. They got their license to operate ambulances. I was told they would not have any ambulances on site. Drove by, saw 8 or 10 out back. So I'm glad they got the permit. Now I'm being told that they're changing the floor plan because it shows that there's sleeping quarters here. We changed the zoning, I believe, to, Wayne, you can correct me, an R. I'm not sure what that means. So there's some requirements there for them to meet. However, the zoning, we have no problem with. There'll be a lot of fire code issues we have to deal with afterwards. Hope that answers your question.
It does. Just from the last meeting, your recommendation was to postpone because of the license issue. Just wanted to make sure that we're good there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Al?
Yeah, I understand that they're also, thank you, Chief, for coming up, but I also understand that they may be adding to the structure to do some other things within the building. And so I'm just wondering if we're not going forward with the permitting process, but then we're going to get into a situation where we're going to put our fire department in a situation where they're almost having to go with what they're going to be seeing on the plot plan. And so I guess my sense is maybe this ought to be waiting for another go around until we see exactly what their plans are.
Well, the zoning to CC would just allow the use. They would still have to get through all the building permit process and address any fire code issues in order to operate in the way that they intend to operate. Right now, they're in there as an office. But they have a permit in to do some remodeling for the day rooms, and they have the way they intend for this to act is as a hub, and it's kind of an administrative place and not as a full station. And they can explain it more tonight better than I should. But there may be a future that may be different here, but that's the way they described it to us.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think I understand, Mayor, and it might be something we need to look into tonight when we talk to them or ask them, is that if we're going to get into a situation where they're going to start adding to the structure, and it's not going to just be a day room, but it may be a short time, almost like a dormitory, I don't know, because they're going to have ambulance service. Are they going to be moving people in and out of there, or are they going to be a transit? So I guess I don't really understand what they're going to be doing. Okay, so I don't know what the concept final plan is going to look like. So unless you know it, Jocelyn, or is that something we need to get into tonight with them?
Well, again, the zoning is just to CC, to community commercial. That just allows the use. They still have to get into all the details that you're discussing within Wayne and the inspections department to make sure it matches what they intend to do in the building. Okay,
And this is for you, Chief. Until you are comfortable that if they're going to add up something we're not seeing in this initial go-around, I don't want to put us in a position, nor do I want to put your department in a position that you're having to live with kind of I don't know what I want to call it, kind of a halfway baked medical station of some sort. I just don't know at this point.
Well, to be quite honest, there's been a lot of inconsistencies in this process. And I think originally they were supposed to have office space and warehouse. Next thing I know, they're storing ambulances and got sleeping quarters. Then they're going to change the floor plan because it requires a different set of fire codes if you're going to be sleeping there or cooking there. So they're going to change that. And they've been operating in there since last May with some of these things that they're not supposed to be in there with. So it's hard for me to give you a straight answer when I really don't know all the angles that's going on here. And so I'm trying to coordinate with Wayne and Jocelyn. And like I said, I think the zoning is good, but there's a lot of issues when we come to the fire code and exactly what the facility is going to be used for. That's kind of where I'm stuck.
And that's where I'm going with this, okay, Jocelyn? So that's something I guess we'll get into tonight if we can move forward with the zoning, but then we're going to have to really understand what they're going to be doing. And that's for you, John, because I know at the end of the day, we don't want to have a situation that they're saying it's going to be this, and then we end up dealing with something else. That's going to, so we're going to really look to you, Chief, and the fire department and your inspector to really put it together so that if they're not meeting the right codes, to really then be an augmentation, period, then, you know, I'm just not in favor of them playing that game, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next one.
All right, the next one is 1551 Corporate Drive. They're ML20A wanting to add an RAB in the ML20A for indoor recreation. So this is I believe it's the Irving Curling Club, and they're wanting to move down into this site. Staff recommends approval. P&Z was approval 8-0, no opposition or support. So this is a property here at 161 in Walnut Hill. They would just take, let me go to the site plan. So they'll just take a piece of this, I think it's about 25,000 square feet of the property, of the building. There's already 2 other existing tenants. And they say, and they'll explain tonight, part of the entertainment is having a beer or something after they have their recreational activities inside. So that's part of their culture, as they told us.
Curling.
So this is the current property. Again, there are a couple office and research tenants in here currently. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? All right.
Okay.
Next one.
The next 2 cases are companion cases. This is the zoning case at 2701 East Grauweiler. It's currently MFW Freeway, which is an appealed district, a repealed district, and they're requesting to go to ML20, MFW Freeway, and they're going to ML20A Light Industrial. Staff recommends approval. P&Z recommends approval 8-0, no opposition or support. The purpose for this rezoning is to be able to request the conditional use permit for the data center, which is the next case. So again, this property is at Maryland and Grauweiler, just south of 183 and just west of Loop 12. It's currently a vacant industrial site, and so they are proposing to do a data center campus on the site. But currently, what they're requesting now is just a ML20A light industrial, which essentially allows warehouse, small manufacturing, which is what the MFW today would also allow. It is future land use industrial. Some of the area's zoning, which is MFW, and this area is generally zoned for light industrial. And just some pictures of the site with our big sign. And I'll be happy to any questions, or I can go to the next case.
Next one.
All right. So this is the conditional use permit for the data center campus. Staff recommendation was denial. P&Z recommended approval as long as the air-cooled closed-loop cooling system was a requirement in the conditional use permit. We've had no letters in opposition. We had one letter. It was the adjacent owner. There's a large property just to the east of this, and it was the family of the owner. The actual owner is in poor medical health, and so the family has been communicating a lot with staff, asking questions. I believe they did, she and the applicant's representative did communicate today, if I'm correct. So again, the location of the property. So here's the site plan. This is planned for 3 two-story data centers. I believe the total square footage is about $750,000 or 50,000 square feet approximately. They are proposing a substation on the east side. Part of staff's concern was just how they were going to get the power to the substation. There was talk about bringing it down the 183 access road or bring it down Grauweiler. That, of course, is not something that's within the city's control. Encore would be the one to decide the appropriate routing for that, I assume in communication with the applicant. The other concern that the staff had was about water usage, and as you saw in the P&Z's recommendation and in staff's recommendation was that it would be a closed-loop system, so they would have a first fill, and once that first fill is complete, then they would not need any more water. We understand there's not any type of evaporation. Todd may be able to speak into this a little bit if need be. And then they also say they plan to build these out in phases, depending on demand. So there wouldn't be one big rush of water demand. It would just depend on their requests and their users. We did look at it's not part of the ordinance requirement, but there is some residential. Of course, you've got the manufactured homes across the street, and there are a few remaining single-family properties here. And then there is a small multifamily complex here. So we just threw a 300-foot buffer on that just to understand what the distances were onto the property. With that knowledge, they are proposing some pretty heavy landscaping, various trees and shrubs, some evergreens. So they are recognizing and trying to provide some type of buffer both to the multifamily to the west and then the single family here to the south. When I guess it was last June, council had requested that staff look into some of the areas that might be better suited for data centers. So these were some of the criteria that we had proposed to council that we discussed. The proximity to Encore transmission lines, to a substation near the airport property, adjacent to other industrial warehouse areas, not near residential uses, and not on highway frontages. And so since we'd proposed these to council, we use these just as our general evaluation on whether this site would be appropriate. One of the sites that was part of that discussion was this Eastern Loop 12 area. This area, the site up here is just to the north of that, what we were calling a priority area. So it's not within the area, but it is just outside. And of course, the substation is the major substation down here. These lines, the black and white lines, are locations of the major transmission lines that are going through the site. Just some surrounding zoning, again, where the where the residential adjacencies are. CEP criteria approval criteria. I won't go through these in detail. Y'all are starting to get to know these, I'm sure, but you do have some flexibility on what you can include inside a conditional use permit if you so choose. Also, some limitations, options that council can add for building heights and just various things on the site plan, again, if you prefer. Some pictures of the site again. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Al?
Yeah, Jocelyn, can you flip back about probably, I think, about 5 slides and where it's the blue circles around it? There. Okay, if I'm looking at it, I can see pretty much to the left or west is the residential, am I correct?
It's a manufactured home park.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then you've got down below, well, let me just ask the question. Where the family is concerned about this coming in, is that the other blue location or is it directly to the right?
It's this big property here. It's the owner of this here directly to the east. So it was not one of the residential properties. It was this vacant property to the east.
That's what I thought.
That's where our one letter, and it wasn't an opposition, it was just had some questions.
Okay. So they basically now, from the original where it shows buildings on there, they're going to scrape it and go with this new new layout, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, so watching the P&Z presentation and hearing from the applicant, I understand that they would try to endeavor to have the power supply come from Grauweiler, but they can't control that, obviously, Encore would.
Right, that's what we understand.
And then that was also for underground power lines, Encore controls that too, and we have no control over that.
We don't, the applicant could offer to pay for the undergrounding, but yes, we would not have control over that.
I think they said they're amenable to having it underground, but then they have to coordinate with Encore on that, I would think, right?
I think they mentioned they would underground on their site.
Okay.
excuse me, so I think that is the plan to underground on their site. How they get there would just be between them and Encore. I'd be surprised, honestly, if they undergrounded transmission down Grauweiler, but yeah, that's Encore's call.
Okay. And then, and they committed to the closed loop water system?
Yes, they did.
And I know there's a lot of discussion in the media these days about the power that's provided, that it causes an increase in electric rates for the community and things like that. Was there any evaluation of that?
No, I think that's just part of such a larger discussion. That was not a direct consideration because it's not something we can control. That was one of the bases of staff's recommendation of denial, is just the external effects that we've been talking about for the last year or so.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to hear from Todd to get his thoughts on the closed water source.
We talked to them about it. It really shouldn't use any more water than any other typical commercial development. So since it's closed, they fill it one time, they use it over time. He said every 6 months to a year, they drain it, fill it. So probably less water use, I would say, than any other typical business that may occupy the site. So we felt comfortable with it.
Thank you.
Al or Andy?
Go ahead.
Adam?
Okay, let me just, looking where the three data center buildings, the three dark, I guess they look like stripes. If you go to the east and you got those three, it looks like lots, it looks like is that parking for trucks? What is that? Yes, that red.
They're just,
Yes.
this is developed, and this is just,
Yeah, no, up a little.
up
Right
here?
there, yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what the exact use is. I think it's just, these are probably just semi-trailers. I don't know the exact user, but it's just outdoor storage.
It's all outdoor storage.
It appears to be. Mhm.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Adam?
Just a quick clarification question on the rationale behind the staff denial. Was that because of the guidelines that we put in place on these, like location, proximity to other, to Encore transmission lines, that previous slide that you were on?
Yeah, it was, we've had other, like let me go to the other slide. We've had other data centers that were closer, like this one here. They edged, they're doing two down here, and they are directly adjacent to the substation and the transmission line, so therefore they're not going to have to do a lot of off-site, access. And yes, it is just right outside. So there were just some small things that it wasn't perfectly ideal. And then we also wanted to acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of unknowns, as Councilman Corona once said, of just the effect of, the overall external utilities that we just don't know about yet. So we wanted to make sure that those were all considered.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I apologize, I'm getting information back
That's
on the
fine. That's
RTC
important.
meeting.
That's too bad. I see that Chris is leaving. I wanted to ask him a few questions now. So, we have, Mayor, we have had a lot of conversations about ensuring that, data centers come to the right areas, and, we have high quality because there's a lot of, it's a hot business, so we want, everybody is rushing to that. And, we put a few guidelines, and it seems like this would be the best data center, the highest quality in the city. And I watched the PNZ too, and I've been in touch with the applicant. The financial impact of this is going to be remarkable, and that's why I would appreciate Chris going a little bit over that, especially when it comes to percentage-wise of what it is that SAT of 183 contributes to the city. I don't know if we have a better use for that parcel that we could come up with. And then, obviously I would support the waterless cooling. That's very important. But yeah, Mark, this is right next to you, so what are your thoughts on it?
It's on the other side of Loop 12 for me, so it's a little distance. But no, when we talked about data centers, this is an area that we identified as where we want the data centers to be, east of Loop 12, and it's off of John Carpenter Freeway. So it's in an area, I think it's an industrial area that where it makes sense to have it located. I think that we want data centers in the city. There's a need for them. we're able to replace old industrial uses with a new structure. It's going to generate a lot of tax revenue, some jobs too. And I think it makes a lot of sense to have it in this location.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, and in addition to that, to some extent, Encore is usually slow, and, I think the applicant will try to do the best they can, and hopefully that works out.
I think that, I appreciate the fact that we've identified that we need places for the data warehouses because, every one of us have at least one of these. And really, every time you use it, it's coming from a data warehouse, the information. Because when you start asking what's the weather, it's going to those are the type of things that you have to have, because everybody's using it. And it started out, in a whole different scenario. The data was being collected and stuff basically through data mining to be used for finding out how people shopped, providing those type of things. But now everything is tied to it. So, I mean, you get up in the morning and what do? You look at your phone. You go to bed at night, you look at the phone before you, and every time you click on something, you're taking data out of these data warehouses. And as we see passing 8 million people in the Metroplex, it's only going to get stronger. As we see what the governor and the legislature has done with bringing the banking and the financial industries into this area, that's even going to challenge it more because you can go back to the old days when they were first starting to deal with data and there was the litigation over when they would make a trade, how much lag time was there before the trade actually, and who held the money during that lag time between when they went up and down. So those type of things have changed and they're a lot faster, and if we're going to be in that game, it's going to continue to be even a more and more challenge as to having this type of service is going to be more and more important to cities. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think we've seen a whole different, Luis, you and I have been out to a couple of different ones of these and seen how they're building them more quiet, how they're reusing the water within them, how they're even, Caterpillar's even done some work on how they can use generators and actually put power back into the grid as well as use what they're doing with the generator. So, I mean, there's just a lot of innovation that's going to continue to grow and make them even more and more efficient and less challenging to our grid and our water system. So I think we've identified the area. I'm very, very much in support of moving forward with it. We can check with Chris when we get back. We'll ask him. We'll move on through the others and we can follow up on what the dollars and cents are, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
All right?
All right. Next case is in Water Street, 5224 North O'Connor. This is a Cork and Pig restaurant. They are, currently they're TOD and RAB. They're wanting to expand into this TOD site, so they're having to rezone the new site into RAB in order to sell alcohol. Staff recommends approval, P&Z approval 7-1, no opposition or support. The reason for the one denial in P&Z is because the applicant did not attend P&Z and one of the commissioners didn't appreciate that. So here's the location of the entire site, including obviously the expansion on O'Connor. The site plan, so the kind of the horizontal hatched, or the vertical hatched, or the whatever, is the new site, and the vertical is the old site. And just some pictures of the property, Williams Square across the street. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm excited that they're expanding.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're doing more business. I won't have to wait when I want to go eat. On to the next one.
All right. The next two are companion cases, 101, 200, and 300 North Rogers. The first is a comprehensive plan future land use case from regional commercial and local commercial to manufacturing warehouse. Staff recommends denial. P&Z recommended approval 8-0. There's no letter of support. There's one letter in opposition that was 0.76%. And we did get a petition, and you got a copy of that this morning. We looked, and about 29% of the addresses in opposition were generally south of the Rock Island area around Story. There were some others that were a little more on the eastern part of South Irving, and there were others from Valley Ranch and some that weren't even in Irving. So here's the two sites. This, of course, is the Southern Junction property. They have an RAB, so that is their primary zoning in order to operate a restaurant. Of course, they also operate as a nightclub or an event center. They have the allowances for a farmer's market. The property on the east side is actually the parking lot tied directly to the Southern Junction. So if the Southern Junction, as much as it continues to operate, must have this parking available, it's tied to their CO. The future land use, a few years ago we looked at this, and a lot of the uses in this area are auto repair, truck repair. They're commercial, meaning they're open to the public. And then we looked at the properties along Irving Boulevard and identified those as local commercial in order to soften the types of uses that are along and facing Irving Boulevard. Some of the surrounding zoning, most of those are SPs for various reasons. The notification, so here's the one opposition that was the 0.76%. And then I'll go on into the zoning case. So they are requesting, of course, future land use for manufactured warehouse, and so their zoning will correspond with the ML20A, which is light industrial. This is generally warehouse, small manufacturing, can have accessory outdoor storage. Their original request was to have primary outside storage, which would be a lay-down yard, or that would be the only use. P&Z did not recommend approval with that use, with outdoor storage as a principal use, and that was also the basis of staff's original denial. Again, there were no letters of support, the petition, and the one in opposition. The site, again, future land use. So we're talking about the west side property here, east side property. So if the east side property, they can continue to operate as a legal nonconforming use with their current CO. But if the Southern Junction continues to operate, again, they have to have the east side for parking. If for some reason the owner sells and begins to develop the east side property, then the Southern Junction would not be able to operate because they would now not have their parking anymore. Pictures of the current site, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So we just pulled a picture. There is a tree line from Irving Boulevard. That was one of our concerns, is not having a lay-down yard and having an open storage adjacent to Irving Boulevard. So there is a tree line street. We're still not in support of that as a primary use. If the ML20A is approved, outdoor storage could be an accessory use, but there would have to be a building, there would have to be a main indoor operating use on the site.
I think they're missing a few trees in their tree line.
Yeah, well, I call them bird trees.
Councilman Zapanta.
Yeah, this is coming back again to us, isn't it, Jocelyn?
They're trying to find a buyer.
Do you see that where they say it's parking? That's where they said, oh, they'd only had room for 2 or 3 semis and it would not be overnight. And then we counted 8 of them. And so we denied it because they're coming at us again. And I'm just, no, that's all I can say. It's just unfortunate that they think they're going to get by and then they're going to do what they want. Because keep in mind, that's right along that corridor that we're trying to develop, and it goes right up to, right on the other side of where Irving Boulevard is. That's the other thing. So you're going to have a lot of trucks if we don't watch it. And that's the problem.
Luis.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding a single resident that is excited about more warehouses. Nobody's like, that just doesn't happen. So, yeah, not thrilled about it.
Any other questions? Adam?
Yeah, just, what we're talking about here is it's currently an entertainment venue.
Correct.
And they want to turn it into a commercial, like heavy use, or a light industrial.
Yeah, there's some history. I think this building there used to be an original building, I think in the 90s, and then this building came in sometime in there. If I'm correct, it was originally a lumber yard. So if you look at it, you can tell there was kind of a retail part. There was a outdoor storage area. Just over time, that lumber yard obviously closed, and they have just been trying to find a solid use for it pretty much ever since.
And, I know there's other, I thought it was similar uses around it, but is there a better use for this, this parcel, I guess?
When we were looking at the future land use, a lot of this area is commercial. When we think commercial, it's you and I, the public can go up to it, drop our keys off, and they repair it, versus industrial is not open to the public. So there's a lot of just auto repair, truck repair, appliance-type businesses. That's kind of what we envision when we put the community commercial, the regional commercial future land use on it, is using the building and kind of breaking it up into those types of uses. That's what we envisioned, is just more of what's out there now, but not that much more.
And this proposal would be a conflicting use to that concept, I guess.
Yeah, the light industrial is more, there'd probably be one user, or they may break it up into different tenant spaces. They don't know yet. But it would be more internal distribution, maybe small manufacturing, not anything open to the public.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark?
Jocelyn, I wanted to ask you, well, first of all, you mentioned how the initial application wanted the outdoor storage as a principal use, and the applicant agreed to withdraw that, right?
Yes, they agreed to take off the primary. Mm-hmm.
So then, but ML20A allows for some outdoor storage. To what extent?
I don't think there's an amount, but it has to be screened, but it has to be accessory to the main use, and the main use does have to be inside a building.
Okay,
so it couldn't just be a lay-down yard that somebody rents.
Could it be like a truck yard then, just for storage of semis?
Probably not, because there would have to be an office, there would have to be some type of main use. Most of those types of yards are just a fence with a gate, and they drop off their truck at night. Normally, there's not any type of primary use for those. And if there was an office, the primary use is still the truck storage. It wouldn't be the office.
Okay,
So,
I think that's a big concern for a lot of the people around here, is that kind of like what Councilman Zaponte was talking about. Are there going to be like 8 semi-trailers that are parked every night on this lot? And ML20A would not allow for that.
no, because then the parking would be the main use. Again, they might have a small office for a secretary, but that would be accessory to the main use, versus the other way around. If you have a manufacturing, or if you have a contractor's yard or something, or contractor's office, they would have everything in the building, and you might have some pipes, or you might have something outside. So it all depends on what is the main use for that property.
Okay. And then I think a lot of the concern too from the people that live in those properties to the southwest of there is that if it turns into like a FedEx warehouse where there's lots of trucks going up and down Irving Boulevard and breaking up the roads and impeding traffic, would the ML20A allow for something like that?
It would allow for warehouse distribution, yes.
And so it could be a 24/7 warehouse distribution.
We couldn't control the hours.
And I think the applicant said that they don't have a tenant in place.
Correct.
And I guess they would open it up to potential tenants at some point to see what they want and then build it then, or are they talking about building it now?
I understand they've had it marketed for a while, and all the interest they've gotten is from light industrial users. So they're requesting to zone it to light industrial, and maybe they can follow through with some of the people who've been interested.
Yeah. Is there a way for us to limit the amount of truck activity that might occur there through the zoning process?
Not through zoning, because trucking is an activity, and we can control what the use is. The way I look at it, we control what's on a CO, but you can't control driving and parking through a CO.
All right, thanks.
No other questions? We'll move on to the next one.
All right. I'll let you go in just a second. So the last one is our tobacco-related retail business amendment. P&Z did recommend approval 8-0. And I won't go through the concerns, won't go through state regulations. So our amendments, again, we're creating a new section 3.23 to add performance standards for the tobacco-related retail business, which is different than the smoking business where that activity is on site. This is when people buy it and take it home. We're adding purpose, intent, and applicability sections. We're requiring that for illumination, any lighting be turned off after operational hours. The main point of this, of course, is that the tobacco retail businesses are prohibited within 1,000 feet of a school or public park. And when the word prohibited is provided in ordinance, that means you can't even ask for it. So that means no SPs, no variances. The measurement would be property line to property line when they're on separate properties, or door to door when they might be in different tenant spaces on the same property. And we left that in there because sometimes charter schools do come into tenant spaces. We wanted to make sure we were covered. And then there are some allowances for existing businesses as legal non-conforming. So any business that is on site today remains in the condition it is today. Indefinitely. They can sell it. They can continue to use it as they want to, but once they cease for a certain period of time, or try to expand or change their sales, what they choose to sell, then that could cause them to lose their legal nonconforming status. We're also amending the non-residential use chart, sales and service section to add the tobacco-related retail business, showing that it has to be only in the CC Community Commercial District and then have that 1,000-foot prohibition, and then also refer to the new development standards, and also amending the CC Community Commercial section for the same items. Again, here's the map. The dark blue are the schools with a 1,000-foot buffer. The dark green are the parks with a 1,000-foot buffer. So just to clarify, anything that is not within these buffers would still be allowed to get a CO today, just as they are. They could just come in as a retail use and get a CO as long as the retail is allowed in the district. We have some existing definitions. We're adding a definition of school to be clear and a little more encompassing on a school being grades 1 through 12 and more than 100 students. We carried over the definition of tobacco product from the smoking ordinance. And then we are adding a definition of tobacco-related retail business to differentiate the retail store from the smoking business. But both of them still have that 51% threshold to identify the differences between a primary store and a convenience store. We did send out about 2,600 notifications in postcards. They were mailed out on January 13th. This is as required. If someone is going to lose a use, this is that wonderful new state non-conforming requirement. So if people who maybe before this is approved could have one of these retail places by right, now if they were within 1,000 feet, they would not be able to do that. So that's what triggered the notification. We did provide a QR code and we made a web page. So here we are today, and tonight we're just asking for consideration of the ordinance.
Sounds good. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We got one more item left. You all want to take a break, or you just want to power through? Go ahead. Residential survey.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Lauren Hale. I am the Strategic Services Senior Manager. It is time to officially kick off the process for our 2026 resident survey. So some of y'all may know that we've been doing this survey since the year 2000. We've been doing that in-house, and we have traditionally done that through a sample of about 8,000 to 10,000 residents, where we mail them a survey form that they complete and they mail back to us. In about 2018, we started to notice that our 18 to 32-year-old population, our multifamily population, and our Hispanic population were starting to kind of drop off on our response rates. So we noted that as something that may become a trend, and we kind of followed it through 2022 and then 2020 and 2022. And then in 2024, we decided to revamp our processes and look to see if there was somebody who could help us. So we looked for some research firms, and we were lucky to find Elite Research. So they helped us through our 2024 survey. We saw great success, and we are excited to welcome them back to our 2026 survey. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Dr. Renee Paulson, who is the founder of Elite Research, and she's going to walk you through some of the highlights from 2024 as well as the process of 2026.
Thanks, everyone. So like Lauren said, we're a research and evaluation firm actually located in Irving. We entered our 22nd year of business this April, and our mission is really to build research capacity within organizations. In 2015, we founded Divergent Web Solutions, which is our marketing and visualization arm of the company with our psych data survey platform. We're a team of 40 with graduate-level consultants who support municipalities, nonprofits, corporations, and medical health professionals in both domestic and international work. We're glad to be renewed as an active research partner for the 2026 Resident Survey with services in the design, data collection, analysis, reporting, and visualization of that data. The City of Irving Resident Survey was last conducted in 2024 and was the first time conducted by an external vendor. We worked with the City of Irving departments in listening sessions on the survey instrument needs, formatting, and question refinement. From a random sample and various collection modes, we received 5,011 responses that were valid for analysis. These, with the inclusion of the open sample, these 5,011 valid responses represented an increased number of responses from prior years, and our goal is to track that response rate with the new modes from 2024 going forward. So we'll be looking to increase that response rate. In 2024, residents rated the service areas requiring city leadership focus, and the top 5 priority areas were street and sidewalk maintenance, homelessness, economic development, housing and code enforcement, and parks and recreation. Over the last 2 budget cycles, the City of Irving prioritized the top resident priority areas identified in the survey, with many, but not all, listed on the following 2 slides. This includes strengthening the cleanliness of the city through enhanced litter and code enforcement, supporting economic development and small businesses, expanding housing and homelessness services, enhancing public safety, and improving Irving's transportation planning and quality of life. Highlights from this slide include the Retail Center Improvement Program, which was used towards a $1.2 million project on the Village of Valley Ranch Shopping Center, the expanded Homelessness Prevention and Diversion Program, which has an RFP out right now, advanced funding the first 2 years of the police staffing plan for $4.5 million, and the completion of the roadway study, which helps support the strategy to increase Road to the Future bond funding from just over $20 million per year to $25 million in the current fiscal year, $27 million next fiscal year, and $30 million in fiscal year '28. Other operational enhancements included 2 targeted campaigns around blight and litter control, as well as the reallocation of 4 previously vacant patrol officer positions to the Crisis Response Unit and the Homeless Outreach Team. Additionally, Dallas County awarded the city $5 million in ARPA funds to support affordable housing through 2 strategic property acquisitions focused on preservation and new development. The funding supports Envoy 64, a 111-unit, 100% affordable multifamily preservation project, serving households under 80% area median income, and Quartz at Cottonwood Creek, a 62-unit homeownership infill development, serving households up to the 120% area median income. Together, these projects advance both affordable rental stability and attainable homeownership. Quality of life continues to be a prime focus with a number of parks and recreation projects, including Irving's effort to seek grant funding from state and federal partners, such as with the Campion Trails Elm Fork expansion. So these are only a few of the projects that the city has worked hard on the resident, on the resident identified focus areas, and we love seeing how Irving is working towards the goals that were identified by these residents. And we really look forward to seeing how Irving identifies projects around the results of this upcoming 2026 survey. The resident survey in 2026 will be open to all residents, as well as the representative sample based on zip code and U.S. Census statistics, with the goal to achieve a minimum of 1,600 valid responses from that representative sample in approximately 5 weeks. Increasing resident voices is important to the city, so with the development of a detailed engagement plan and our support of the city's communications, the survey will launch on February 25th and will close April 1st. Sampling is important to achieve representation in the data, and using events, commerce, and neighborhoods to increase access to the survey and resident participation to gain more voices heard will also allow anonymous responses to be accepted. With the City of Irving, we've worked to maintain consistent messaging in English and Spanish and to focus on marginalized communities. With the survey platform, we prioritize accessibility with the ability to conduct the survey on mobile browsers, text messaging, and links from the browsers in both English and Spanish. Working with the city, we've updated the survey and collection plan from January to February of this year. The survey is translated, and the final collection schedule and sampling plan are defined. The engagement plan launches with the communication and innovation teams beginning in February. The survey launches via email and marketing on February 25th and will be monitored for valid participants and representativeness through April 1st. We will conduct analysis with benchmarking beginning in April and final reporting delivered by the beginning of May. And it's important to the city to get the survey in front of as many residents as possible. So using the standard city avenues, the newsletter, Spectrum, Irving Community Action Network, neighborhoods, school districts, and we will promote the survey on our website. Additionally, we will send email announcements along with the SMS, text messaging, to reach the sample with a focus to increase targeted markets ages 18 to 32 and multifamily housing. And up to 5 reminders will be sent through email, social media, and text. Results will be presented via a report, infographics, and staff circulation. And here's some examples of some of the imagery we'll be using. And any questions?
Al? I must be missing a year here. We're looking at 24.
It's done every other year here in the city, and that's very common.
Fine. You've answered my question, because this last year is going to have a very interesting response, and so is this year. So
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be looking longitudinally over the history of the data, too.
Good.
Other questions? Adam?
Just one quick question. Is there, and this is my first year on council, so I'm
Sure.
unfamiliar with the previous survey. Is there a free-form answer as well?
Yes,
or
there are
is it
actually several free-form answers. We qualitatively code that with our team, as well as with the staff in the city of Irving, and look at how those responses and what areas are they focused on based on the content of the question. I believe there are 5?
There's actually one.
Sorry. Can't remember exactly how many open-ended are on this one.
So throughout every section of the survey, it essentially asks you, how would you rate police services? How do you rate library, fire, parks, et cetera? So each section, if you rate a certain level, it will pop up with an open response that says, why did you rate it that way? And then at the end, we have even further qualitative. Just, is there anything else you want to tell us? Is there something that we're missing?
Right, and is it a Likert scale, like a 1 to 5 rating or something like that?
Yes, most of the sections have a standard Likert scale items and a few variations from that.
Thank you.
Very good,
Great.
thank you.
Any other questions? Chris, I'd like to see if we could put something in there this year about DART that really gives us some feedback on it.
It is there.
Because, I mean, if you really look at it, I'd like to put some information in there that basically says the city spends $130 million or $120 million a year on DART, and less than 3% of us ride. Are you one of the 3%? And if you are, I know it's a lot of detail, but just do you ride DART or do you not really doesn't tell us a whole lot, because if somebody rides DART once a year to go to the fair, then they assume, yeah, I ride dart, where I'm trying to see if there's a way we can drill down a little bit. I don't know how to do it,
Yeah, Mayor, I think if I understand what you're asking more of a value proposition type of question. Let's work with the team
Yeah.
here, see if we can come up with a way to ask that question without doing any leading, not providing the information.
Yeah, we
but
can ask
We can
about-
figure out a way to ask
Yeah,
that
it's better
value question.
not to
yeah.
do it the way I just said about the money.
Yeah.
It's better to say, if you ride dart, how many days a year do
Yes.
you ride it, or something like that.
How often, how frequently do you ride it?
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe
Sorry,
even
I
just
just-
asking a broad question.
I've got
do
the
you
money
feel
on
that
my
you get
mind.
value out of dart? We can work on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, yep.
Absolutely.
Mark?
It's all the topics, that are identified, one that is not in there is education. I think that's a very important issue for the community.
You and the governor think it's.
So there are typically in most cities, school-based, education-based separate surveys that are conducted with an in-depth look at those things. I'm assuming the city of Irving has that in a different way, but if that's something, that section you need.
I for sure would like to see what the citizens are saying about the educational offerings in the city.
Yeah. I think typically the ISD would do their own survey, and so sometimes we put in something about education, about what we offer, but we could put a very broad statement of just in general education.
Right, so, yeah, you said the ISD, and of course, we have several ISDs, and so I would like to see a city survey asking those questions.
Al?
Yeah, let me, because most of what is on here, if not all of it, is geared to what the city offers or what we're responsible for.
Yes.
What is not in there is what we're seeing right now, and that's pocketbook issues, personal financial concerns. I've got to believe that that's important as it relates to all of these services, because when I look at, the highest level was street and maintenance, yeah, potholes, et cetera, I get it. But I will tell you, I think right now, everything that I'm hearing and seeing and getting feedback is everybody's concerned about their ability to go to the market, eggs are up, bread's up. I mean, what would you consider being an item we could put in there? Because it impacts all of these services, because guess what? That's the people that are paying it through taxes.
Absolutely. So there are a couple of ways that cities do this when they ask these questions about how they view the value of where they live relative to the services that the city provides, but also then to the amenities or the cost of living of things that the city is not in control over, right? Like the cost of groceries and things. And so we could look at pulling some of those standard questions and consider then how people view that favorability of being in Irving relative to not being here, or the relationship of, their concerns. We could ask some of those questions of what are the rank of their concerns, and some of the items could be, the cost of general living that's really not your services. The question will be, what will you do with that information when you ask it, right? And I think that's something you have to consider, is by knowing that, if that is a concern, what would the city then be aiming to do, whether it's communication or change, that you take with that data? So just thinking about that.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it one more level.
Sure.
Okay? We are in a very political year.
Yes.
We have a midterm
Mm-hmm.
in March, and we've got our municipal, and then, of course, beyond that, maybe runoffs, who knows? And then you have the general election. This is going to be a very interesting year to get feedback from the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to gauge, that'll give us a real view. Education's part of it,
Mm-hmm.
because as you know, the initiative that the governor's putting out there on education. And so there's some key things that are going very intrinsic to this year, 2026.
Yeah.
So I really, you following me, Chris? Try to give us a little color to what's right now important, because that
Okay.
may give us some, priorities how we
Great.
judge the next year.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a look at that, look at some options of ranking those questions.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Chris, Luis had a question about the value, go ahead. I don't want to speak.
Just
for
wanted
you.
to ask if you have any data on the total property taxes generated by either District 4 or south of 183, just to get an idea of this project, this data center, what sort of
For
impact?
item number 27.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you looking, sir, for the data or the projected values that would be created by the center itself or for the entire region within District 4?
Right. What do we have right now to calculate roughly, what would the upside be?
Oh, for this particular project?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we'll be able to, we'll pull that for you.
Okay,
I don't
that's
have it off the top of my head.
Are you looking for the taxable value of District 4 today?
Yeah.
And then
the numbers
understanding
from the
what this
project-
project would
Yeah.
add to that total taxable
Exactly.
value of District 4? That's an analysis.
Because it could be very significant.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get that by this evening.
Okay.
But we can.
If you get that, I'm assuming residents will love to see that.
Okay, you bet.
eventually,
Yes,
so
sir.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, no other questions? We will stand adjourned till the meeting at 7 o'clock.